Welcome to Total Money Management Podcast. We're back with Tom and Steve and a friendly fresh bottle of wine.
Hello there.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
Shout out.
Shout out to Nick
Righto.
Maudsley. Sorry if I
Righto.
got your name wrong.
Well done, Nick.
Tom assured
Good
me that was your
remembering.
name.
Good remembering.
We're having a glass in your honour, son. Well
Very
done.
good. Very nice.
Peter Lehman, thank you so much. And if anyone else would like to send us wine,
Oh, please.
just reach out.
This is now the Wine Weasel podcast. Signal and Noise, week ending November 28, gents.
Yes.
Almost
We will.
Christmas.
We will give you, if you do send us wine, we'll give you an independent review.
It's
Not
very
advice.
nice.
No, we won't. That would be blackmail, and we wouldn't suffer for that. Righto, what do we got, Tommy? What is it?
Week ending November 28.
Oh, there
we're
you go.
talking recession. You've been through multiple recessions. I think we're kicking it off with a story.
Yeah, well, I have.
Steve's story time.
Yeah, I have been through. Well, I'm just flagging private credit. There's a lot of stuff about private credit. It used to be called shadow banking, right? Which was banking that was done outside the mainstream banking
Yeah, so
system.
the main ones have been regulated or they've had new regulations put on them.
Yeah,
And then
after
they've
the
gone-
GFC.
Create a
Right.
bucket company.
Yeah,
essentially.
exactly. Right. And so they've just walked around the regulations by doing this stuff off balance sheet. Right. And that's part of the problem. So the thing that concerns me is there's a lot of private credit out there and there's a liquidity problem. What they usually do is say to sort of high net worth people or to institutions, you know, give us your money. We're going to invest in these things privately. But generally they're not liquid, right? So they might, for example, they might have 100 properties, right? Well, if you say to them, listen, I need my money back, it can take a long time, right? Because they're in illiquid assets. They're not buying stocks, they're buying property and, you know, that sort of thing. So there's the thing that happens is when you say, you know, when the market falls, you're generally supposed to reprice these assets. Right, so you look at it and say, hey, you know, remember that building we bought for 100 million?
Yeah.
Really, it should be 85 million. And it's like, yeah, but we'll market at 100 million.
Yeah, they just take the highest price.
Yeah,
and they go,
yeah,
look
right.
the other way.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. You know,
I checked.
Every building's falling, but not ours. And so when people then panic and go, right, I want my money back, these funds generally say, okay, we're not doing redemptions, i.e., you can't get your money out.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the idea being you trade off liquidity for extra return, right? So, you know, you can get 6 in the market, we'll get you 8 in private equity, private credit, but it won't be liquid.
Well, it smells a little bit like GFC, not saying it is, but it looks like it.
Yeah, as I sort of said there, look, I can tell you the root cause always starts with finance, right? Every time shit hits the fan, there's always dodgy money somewhere, right? The GFC was ninja loans, subprime mortgages, you know, and we're back there again, but we're back there with private credit, right? So that's where I'm really concerned because the IMF, the Bank of International Settlements and Moody's have all gone, we're not, this private credit thing might be getting out of hand. Well, when they start saying it, that's when you know, it's like we're going to talk about with the regulations, right?
Oh, with APRA.
Yeah. It's, it may not do that much to the market, but it's a bit of a flag, it's a yellow flag, I think, saying to the lenders, listen, you guys need to dial it back a bit with the investors.
Yeah, what's the story with that? Is it they're capping it at only 20% of loans?
Yeah.
With the big four can be written at above
Higher
6
than-
times
yeah,
income.
higher than 6 times income.
Yeah.
So if you loan out, if you've you got 100 loans, okay, 20 of them are allowed to be higher than 6 times income to investors.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because
Okay.
if you look at household income, hitting $200,000 in household income is not that unheard of for a couple.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So that's $1.2 million.
Yep.
That you can loan.
Yep.
And that'll get you a house in most places.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, 1.1's
Well,
average in Brisbane.
Yeah, in Brisbane. I'm thinking Sydney. But
Yeah.
But the thing, see that again, this is what I can't understand. one thing that, and I think I mentioned this about a week or maybe a month ago, the thing that's concerning me is we're getting a really big growth in non-bank lenders, right? So what's happening is people are going to a bank, right? And the bank says, oh, sorry, Tom, we're not going to give you a loan, right?
Sorry,
So Tom goes to the mortgage broker and the broker says, I'll get you a loan. He gets a loan from a non-bank lender.
Yeah.
Right? And so what non-bank lenders do is their criteria are a little bit loosey-goosey. So,
but the rates are higher.
Yeah. And the bank says, all right, Tom, the loan's at 6%. We've got to assess you at 9%.
Yeah. Right?
In case rates go up. So we've got to say, well, Tom's able to pay at 9%. So he can comfortably pay at 6%, which is all bullshit, to be quite honest. So anyway, the bank knocks you back. You go to a non-bank lender and they say, Tommy, no worries, mate. Yeah, we'll give you a loan. They give you a loan and they don't do the 3% buffer. So if interest rates go up, Tom might struggle and they go, hey, well, no problem. But the reason why it concerns me is because the same thing happened in America, which is the securitization of mortgages, right? So what they do is the non-bank lender gets Tom a loan, then securitizes it and sells it to investors. And the investors might be insurance companies, right? And they bag up 10,000 Toms and they go to the insurance company and say, hey, we've got all these mortgages and they're paying 6%, 5%, right? And the insurance company goes, oh, this is great. Then what happened in America was, of course, the residential properties crashed. Everybody went belly up, right? And then shit hit the fan and we had to rescue them. And the reason why it was a problem was because, again, once you've lent to people who can easily afford a loan, if you want to continue growing, you have to drop down your standards to say, listen, Jacob was cool, no worries, but Jacob doesn't need any more money. Oh, Jesus, okay, well, listen, why don't we talk to Tom and see if he needs a loan?
It can be the same issue with the same person, though. So if I could easily afford a house, but then I couldn't probably easily afford a second house.
Yep.
And I definitely couldn't easily afford a third.
Yeah.
So it's...
But see, the problem we get, Jacob, is we keep using equity from the property purchases.
Yeah.
So the problem is you buy your first house at $1 million, right? And you pay down a bit and then it goes to 1.2, right? And then you and your missus go, oh, let's get an investment property. So you've got equity in the first property that you can use to get the loan for the second property.
Yes.
Then the second property goes up. So you use the equity in those to get a third property. Now, the problem with that is it's all Jim Dandy until the prices go into reverse.
Or the value, at least.
Well, the value of the property falls.
Yeah.
So the third property you buy for 1.6 and you've got a loan of, 1.5 or 1.4 on it, then suddenly it's worth 1.3, then you're underwater, right? And this is what happens, right? And that's why I'm saying we've got to pay attention to the American property market because our property market's quite similar, right? And again, what I'm seeing is the argument is that the non-bank lenders have exploded in market share. So the banks are responding to that. But quite frankly, the banks are probably saying to APRA, well, hang on, the non-bank lenders are not covered by this 6 times incomes.
Yeah.
So where does everybody who's got more than 6 times income go? They go to the non-bank lenders.
And then what happens to CommBank's share price when they don't hit their expectations?
Well, yeah, but you see, what's happened is we've now got an explosion of competition, and that's not, you don't want people It's like going, it's the worst place to have competition is people doling out money, right? It's madness to be trying to get winning market share between banks because what happens is the lending standards fall. Right, and that's the problem. What happens is you end up with a bunch of ninja loans, right, or subprime mortgages, and we've got it going on also in commercial real estate. So that's why I'm really worried about it because it looks really good until it stops, right? This is the problem with every market. Every market looks fantastic until it rolls over, right? And what you find is things like delinquencies, right? they're really, really low. Well, of course they are, because the market's rising. Once the shit hits the fan and the value starts falling, that's when you get the rises in delinquencies, right? But by then, it's too late, right? Because the market's already fallen.
Well, will this apply to the non-bank lenders as well?
What's that?
The APRA stuff? Or is
No.
it, it's
No.
just the top four?
Just
So
the
do you think this could drive more people to look at
Well,
non-bank lenders?
Yeah, I think so, because I think I read it somewhere. I can't remember. I think it was in an article. But what's happening is, if you go to the bank and they knock you back, people don't go, oh, bugger.
No, it's such an emotional purchase. You go, oh, well, who's the next one?
I'm just going to find, I can tell you, I had family that did it, right? They banked with a bank for 20 years and the bank said, no, we're not giving you a loan. So what did they do? They just toddled off and got another, got a loan elsewhere.
Next bank.
And all those arguments about, rising interest rates will stop it. Well, it's not, because what we've seen is an explosion of growth in investor lending. So the arguments about, it's immigration and all this stuff, it's like, no, it's not. It's bloody well investors who are getting out there and speculating like crazy. And a lot of investors are the ones who have got a lot of the money that have got collateral to get the loans.
Yeah.
So they're pushing out everybody else and pushing up the prices.
The immigration argument it's just such an easy target. It's an easy thing to talk about.
Yeah, it's partially valid, but I never see any, like if you get 3 Chinese students come over here to work, well, sorry, they're not going to go and buy an investment property.
Not for 1.1 or 1.4 in
Yeah,
Sydney.
yeah. So, you'll get odd foreign purchases. There was one this week, a Chinese lady bought her daughter an $8 million property or something because she's studying here or something. But they're the exceptions, not the rule, right? But the point being that the investor market has exploded, right? And that's where the problems are, because those people are investing. They're not buying a home to say, this is where we're going to live. And they're going to be the ones, if they feel the pinch, they may say, well, like, we've got to sell, and then you get the cascade down.
Yeah.
And then everyone shits themselves.
Well, you hear a lot of people say Australian property market's completely different.
Yeah, it is until it isn't.
Yeah.
You've only got to look across the pond and see what happened to New Zealand.
Yeah, it's just, look, as I keep saying, everyone says, oh, the property market's different, and it's like, okay, but it still goes to a market cycle. Let's be honest. You're buying and selling a fucking house. It's like a stock. How different can it be, right? And this is what I hear all the time. Like, I heard arguments for the week about why the Americans are exceptional, right? Or why the Mag 7 is different. And it never is. It really boils down to company profits and how they're distributed, right? Think of the internet. You don't look at an internet company now and go, oh man, that'd be a great buy, right? Because it's 25 years old. Well, there's, NVIDIA how is NVIDIA different? It's a company. Okay, there's millions of those. All right. It makes lots of profits. Okay, there's lots of companies make lots of profits. They have to distribute costs and wages and stuff like that. Okay, like every other company.
Doesn't it have a unique, and I'm not a NVIDIA fan, but doesn't it have a unique proposition by the type of chip that it makes?
Yeah,
Got a
but
bit of a lock hold on that?
Yes, but that's usually they're temporary, Jacob. The moat, the thing that Buffett calls a moat, the competitive advantage, is something that you can't compete away, right? So what's an example? Coke, right? Coca-Cola, right? You wouldn't go up against Coca-Cola.
Unless you're a Pepsi.
Unless you're an idiot, right? Or Pepsi, right? Because they've got... Coke drinkers don't go, oh, I think I might just start on creaming soda. Everybody who drinks Coke goes for Coke, right? Same with Pepsi. So there's a brand loyalty there that you wouldn't bother shifting because it's just not worth it, right? So with NVIDIA, there will be competition in the chip field that will erode its competitive advantage, right? Now, it may stay ahead of the game. I'm not arguing that they won't, but what I'm saying is there will be alternatives, right? And that's why Buffett steers away generally from technology, because what he says is that the problem is I can't tell you where Nvidia is going to be in 20 years, but I can tell you where Coke is, right? And that's why he says I want stocks with bond-like quality. So what he's saying is I just want something steady, right? And what you have in a moat is a steady, a stock with a bond-like quality.
Yeah. Do you?
Right?
I mean, Nvidia. It's a strange one to wrap my own head around, but it was a startup in 1999. It's been around for a long, long time.
Yeah, it did mainly gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not come out of nowhere. I mean, it has kind of come out of nowhere, but it hasn't just popped up.
Yeah, it's not a 5-year-old startup.
No, but the worrying thing is the market cap, right?
Yeah, it's
Like when I look at it, I just go,
Yeah. I mean,
outrageous. Like,
it's what is it now? It's still over 4, isn't it?
I think so.
4 trillion.
It's bigger than every country other than the US and China. I
Yep,
think.
that'd be right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
4.3 trill.
yeah. That's US too.
Yeah,
so that's probably
crazy.
6.5 trillion Australian.
Australian monopoly monies.
Well, that's 3 times the Australian economy, right? And that's just one company.
Yeah, and that's the thing that to me I just go.
Well,
Like I can't dispute Nvidia's great, but I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, well,
at
if you
the current price.
Yeah, if you work out what it's got to earn, it's basically the whole lot of them have got to earn trillions, right? They ain't earning trillions. The other thing you hear is people are saying, oh, yeah, they're earning lots of money, though. And it's like, yeah, but they're earning a majority of their income, Nvidia aside, they're earning a lot of their income from other products.
yeah.
Right.
They're learning their own things to then learn.
Well,
against
there's
other
that.
things.
There's that part of it, yeah. But there's also, it's like saying, "Oh, Google's really profitable," and it's like, yeah, because the search engine is generating 90% of profit, right? And that's what I mean. People are going, "Oh, yeah, but OpenAI is really profitable," and these other companies, and it's like, no, they're not.
They're not. No.
Right?
Miles away from being profitable.
Well, that's the problem they got with AI is looking at it and saying, how do we make it profitable, right? Because at the moment it's not profitable, and when you want to go and ask someone for, $100 million, well, they're going to say to you, okay, what's the path to profitability? And if you sort of go, oh, it doesn't matter, it'll be there somewhere. It's like, yeah, okay. Come back when you get one.
investors.
Well, yeah, or you bullshit to them and go, oh yeah, the world's our oyster and the total addressable market's 40 trillion. It's like, right, okay.
Well, that's chips on the moon.
Well, that's why they get carried away with AI is going to take over everything and blah blah blah. And so far, it hasn't done that much. Yeah. A lot of the experts are coming out and going, no, scaling's not going to happen. Hallucinations are still a problem. So in other words, you follow this same formula or the same format. We all get ahead of ourselves, and then they have to dial it back, right? And that's the problem, because when you dial it back, all the investors go, oh, you mean it's not worth $200 a stock? It's only worth 140, and then the collapse is on, right?
Have you, in the whole time you've been involved with the stock market,
900
would you have ever expected $1 trillion market caps?
No,
Because we've got Nvidia, we've got Apple at almost 4.
Yep.
We've got Microsoft at 3.8.
Yep.
Google, or Alphabet rather, at 3.4.
Yep.
Amazon at 2.7.
Yep.
Trillion.
Yep. Oh, the first time I heard it was, I think it...
Trillion seems like a fake number.
I'm not... I first heard it when I think it was after the GFC, and I think 2013 rings a bell, but I think it might have been a bit earlier. A guy called David Einhorn is a famous value investor, and I think he had invested in Apple, and someone said to him, why'd you invest in Apple, blah, blah, blah. And he said Apple could be the first $1 trillion company.
And you
Yeah,
go,
2018, there's an article going, Apple becomes the world's first.
Yeah. And that was,
company.
I heard it, David Einhorn go, oh, Apple could be the first $1 trillion company. That's when I first went, wow, that's, that's huge. That's the first time it dawned
almost
on
like
me.
a fair-
and now it
fairy
just
tale.
rolls off the tongue like, oh yeah, it's free trill. It's like, oh yeah, cool, bro. Like, yeah, I'll cash your check on the weekend.
Yeah. Now there's a few of them in the $1 trillion club.
Yeah.
Hey, okay.
Well, Elon Musk is worth $500 billion.
Yeah, a
Right,
full
for-
trill when he gets his thing.
Yeah, $1 trillion and then some. But he's worth 472 billion.
But he's not stopping till he's a zillionaire.
Yeah, well, he'll probably die of a heart attack before he's 50. But anyway,
What's the lesson of the week this week, Steve?
Yeah. So
Brokers. So you've got here. Brokers often advise clients to buy and hold, which makes me twitch a bit.
yeah, makes your eye go a bit funny.
A little bit. And it's not just the wine, Nick. And they're obviously focusing on annual increases in stock prices. So they're saying buy and hold is 8% a year, regardless of volatility.
Yeah.
Get into it. So
Yeah.
what are we trying to tell
I'm just
people?
trying to say to people, and I will constantly reinforce this idea about buy and hold. Buy and hold works really well when the CAPE ratio is 10 and you've had a 50% decline in the stock market. That's what you want to buy and hold, right? Because you're getting a 12 or 13% yield, right? But the yield now is like 2, right? The dividend yield of the S&P is 1.15.
That's
Now,
miserable.
well, it's more than miserable because inflation's at about 3.
Yeah.
So in other words, you're actually minus, right? And
Cash.
even if
You're better off holding cash.
Cash is king.
Exactly. But this is why I say it's like negatively geared property, right? You're losing money, but you are saying, yeah, but that's okay because I'm going to make it up on the capital gain, right? And that's fine if it works, right? And if the property's cheap. But after a 25-year bull market in property, a 16-year bull market in stocks, it's really hard to say, yeah, dive in, Fred, because you'll get 8 or 9% over the long term. When what we know is with the geometric return, if you invest now and it's going to get 2%, that's all you're going to get.
That's
right?
all right. Only 36 years to double your money.
There you go. So, but the important part is you can't really improve that yield other than saying, well, I need the stocks to collapse. But then you're down, you'll probably be down 50 or 60% of the money you put in.
And you'll sell and make dumb decisions on the way down.
And then you won't want to get back in when, we're sitting there going, see, we told you should now buy stocks. So that's that's why I say there's nothing different about these cycles.
That's all right.
It always goes the same way.
Tom will be 67 when we double our money.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And you'll be living to 120 by then.
Yeah. Well, there's loads of time then, isn't
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Let's just get in.
You'll have an AI robot, all sorts of things, AI kids.
So-
but a serious point. It's as you make more money, you
AI
want
kids.
You want to
that
take
just
more,
dropped.
Hey?
Sorry, the AI kids thing just dropped. Go on.
Blows your mind. Well, you get the round, mate. It'll be better than the wheel runs. Let me tell you. So, but it's just reinforcing that point, right? It's really hard to rebalance when you've made a lot of money, but you've got to do it, right? Because I don't know. As I said last week, I don't know when it crashes, but geez, I'm really worried about next year. Because as we said, everything's expensive, right? So that's when Japan and China are now at each other's bloody throats.
So
Russia and Ukraine is still going, and it's tagging along. So there's just
didn't Trump, or should I say, the Russians write the peace treaty?
yes, yeah.
But Trump actually said America wrote it, and they agreed to it. I haven't followed it much other than that.
No, Trump is trying to.
Didn't he end all wars?
Well, he's trying to, but look, it's a weird one, because it was only this afternoon I thought to myself, well, you probably see Trump's idea is basically what Trump is doing is saying to Putin, listen, you guys, if we team up together, you've got heaps of resources, you've got a good workforce. You could be a really first-grade economy, and they could be. But the problem is they're run by bloody dictators like Putin, and who basically fleece the joint for themselves, right? And his mates. And so the average Russian is bloody well in a terrible position.
Yeah, well, they're the gap is insane.
Oh, it's huge.
Billionaires and just poverty.
It's huge. So, the Russians were doing really well up until about when the commodities started to decline, which I think was about 2011, right? Russia was doing really well because it was selling bucket loads of commodities, right? And China was on the picture and it was all going really well. That's when it started to go pear-shaped. And then in 2014, Russia invaded Ukraine the first time. So that's when things started to go pear-shaped. But Trump is trying to say, look, we're prepared to help and make you an economic powerhouse, right? But Putin is not interested in that. The Russians are just obsessed with the border stuff.
Winning. They just want to win.
Well, no, Russia's exposed on a lot of flanks, right? Particularly on the east.
Ukraine's not going anywhere.
Well, yeah, but see, they're worried about Ukraine has also got huge potential, right? But they're worried. What Putin's worried about is NATO getting into Ukraine
And then being on the doorstep.
and then being on the doorstep of Moscow, right? So, and you got to remember, these guys think in hundreds of years, right? They're not, we can sort of sit here and go, they won't do that, but they don't know what's going to happen in 50 years. I mean, Ukraine gave up their nukes, right? And everybody, they said to Ukraine, give us the nukes. Nah, Russia's, they're good. There won't be any shit go down. Well, here we go. Yeah. I can tell you, Putin wouldn't be in Ukraine, mate, if they had the nukes, right? So that's where you got to think in different terms. You've got to think in what's in the best interests of the whole country for the next 50 to 100 years, not the next 5.
That's a good way to think about it. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah, well, that's what all the geopolitics is about, right? Is stationing. See, China wants Taiwan for, a few reasons, but mainly because if they can get Taiwan, they can control entry and exit points.
Shipping routes and things like that.
Trump is in Venezuela because Russia and China signed an agreement with Cuba, I think. So what you do is when you get into war or potential war, you've got to look at where your weak points are. Well, in America, it's down around the south there.
Yeah.
Right? So that's its weak point. If they lose that, then they lose a lot of trade access. For China, it's around Taiwan and other places, right? So that's what you do. Russia, it's on the east, right? Russia's got, 8 or 9 weak points, and that's why they're saying they want to get Poland back, because that's all the weak points where they can be attacked. Right? So you've got to work through that. But it's going to be hard for everyone because the demographics are really terrible. But I suspect what we end up with is drones and AI soldiers, like, robots, running around fighting each other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're already seeing that in
absolutely.
Without going into all that stuff.
Well, there's not enough young men and women to put armies together.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're even looking at human populations and saying that they're flawed.
It peaks at about 10, I think.
Humans are flawed anyway. Get robots to do it for us.
Yeah.
Anyway, we won't get into that. There's a couple of questions on the socials.
Yep.
One of them here from Jacob. Where are we going to get caught out when prices start to fall? Not quite sure what he means by where. I'm assuming.
Where are we going to get caught out?
Yeah, I'm assuming he means S&P, if we're investing in the S&P, or where are we going to get caught out when prices start to fall?
I would just say exposure.
Well, probably
if you're overly exposed.
Yeah.
Technology. Technology stocks will probably get an absolute shellacking.
Yeah.
Ones that, and this is what we're going to talk about soon, about where do you invest? And I think we touched on it last week, where energy is still really, really attractive.
Oh, we touch on it all the time in the premium newsletter and the coaching calls and things like that.
So. And rare earths, right? They're the ones where you look at and go, okay, even if they fall, well, let me give you an example. Today, Petrobras came out and said, yesterday, Petrobras came out and said, we're going to cut the CapEx spending.
Right.
Right? Now, last week, or I think it was this week, they discovered huge amount of oil.
Oh, what a surprise.
Right? So you go, we've got a huge amount of oil, and I said, okay, in the midterm, I think it was last week's letter, premium letter, I said, in the midterm, it'll need a lot of capex,
Yeah.
right, to exploit it.
You've been talking about Petrobras for a long time.
Yeah. And it's doing really well. It pays a high dividend. But, sorry, my point being, today's article came out and said, the dividend might be reduced because they're going to cut the capex spending. But it makes sense to cut capex when oil's at 60.
Yeah.
Right? If oil goes to 100, it's drill, baby, drill.
Yeah.
Right? See, we want cheap oil, or Donald Trump wants cheap oil, right? Because Americans hate paying a lot for oil, right?
Well,
now,
everyone does.
well, but they drive a lot, right? They're all car dependent, right? So they hate expensive petrol. So Trump says drill, baby, drill. The problem is the companies are saying not at $60 a barrel, we're not drilling, buddy.
Yeah.
Why would they? Some of them would cost 65 a barrel.
But we know the cycle will come back around again. It might hit $45 a barrel, who knows? And then, but at some point it'll be $80 again.
Tell you what, mate, if we get a regional war somewhere, it'll go to 100 real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
But it will. But you're right. It will go back up again. And again, it's just the cycle, right? And it's the same thing at the bottom of the cycle. You hear all the same stories. Oh, it's all going to be alternative energy, and it's all going to be EVs, and it's all going to be solar. And then you watch over the years as they start walking it back, right, and going, it may not be all cycles and all solar and stuff, and that's what's going on.
So help me understand why it's so detached at the Bowser. Like
I
when
know.
I go
Look,
fill, because
Tom,
the
90,000.
7-Eleven app the other day
100%.
said I could save up to 65 cents a litre, but they've capped it at 25 because a server a few suburbs over had it 65 cents cheaper.
Well, the corporations are still charging a mozza.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but see, last week I filled up. It was $1.69, and I'm not kidding. The next day it was $2.19.
You know what? Australia is the only place in the damn world that does that. You can't. If you go to England, it fluctuates a pence in a year. It doesn't. But here,
So what's going on there? Is
No
it
idea.
that?
No, you tell us.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is that I know the
Here-
government. The government makes a lot of tax out of it.
There's heaps
but,
of tax on it.
But I think honestly, what happens is people get used to it. Right? People get used to it and go, oh yeah, well, nobody's writing a petition to Albo going, this is bullshit. What's going on here?
Australian government are suckers.
And if I mean, if oil goes to 100, what are we paying?
Yeah, that's what I was
Bloody
thinking.
$3 a litre, or
well, no, because it's so detached. Like I've never seen anything like it. It's $1.50 and then $2.20.
But that's what I
within
mean.
2
What I'm
days.
saying is, if oil goes up, the Bowser companies will be going, oh well, oil's at $100 a barrel, and we got to recover it.
Well, I did a piece of work. I spent half an hour going, okay, map the oil price against the fuel prices for 10 years, and there's no correlation.
Yeah.
It's like oil's up here, fuel's down here.
Yeah.
And it's just like this for 10 years.
Anyway, Jacob, have a think about energy. But again, we're going to talk about. I think we're going to talk about in a special about hedging, which I think we wrote on the blog this week.
Yeah.
So go and have a look at that. The reason why we're talking more about that is we're focusing more on how not to lose money rather than make money. And again, what people should understand is that there's times to make a lot of money, and there's times where you just got to sit, and there's times where you got to sit out of the game, right? And at the moment, we're probably close to, it's definitely time to be conservative, and it's even getting close to sort of in America sitting out of the game. Right, and it doesn't mean you lose anything. I'm seeing a little bit of this stuff of, but if you're on the market, look at all the returns you lost in the last 12 months, and it's like, well, okay, but let's fast forward next year, and if it drops 50%, you won't be saying, but you collected all those returns because you didn't sell them.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, if you look at the S&P at 1.5% dividend, and you can get 4.5% in savings, and if the market tanks,
Yeah,
you're not as exposed.
it looks awful.
Yeah,
It's so easy
like
to
it's
rev
not.
people
It's
up.
not a yeah.
Anyway,
Bit of cash isn't horrible.
how's the Mo going, Tom? Hey, when's it come off? Couple of days.
Soon, or maybe never.
It looks good,
Oh.
mate. I think it looks all right. And if you're wanting to
Does
donate,
not. Don't be stupid.
If you're wanting to donate,
It looks terrible, Tom. Take it off.
donate to Tom's.
Don't listen to him. Have a look at
November.
his face.
Yeah, look at it.
Look at that. Oh, Jesus.
Beautiful.
How
Anyway,
could you kiss a face like that with a big bunch of hair on?
Lucky you don't have to.
Well, yeah, I know.
You
do you want to have a kiss?
But no.
All right,
Thoughts
let's
and
leave
prayers
it
to
there.
hell.
Steve's blushing. All right.
See you guys.
Oh, I'm old school, mate. I'm old school.
Bye.
This podcast does not provide financial advice.